I work for Surrey Wildlife Trust, and I have done for almost 2 years now. I started off in the education department, and I've moved across to the engagement department. I've also worked for membership and ecology services and marketing in my short time with them as well. And this year I was lucky enough to enroll in a course around eco-psychology and nature-based practice. And I am now a nature connection facilitator. And I have to say that this training has provided a real lifeline to me through this year. And nature for me has been a love my whole life. And now I'm finding a way to make it my vocation, my career as well. And it has given me more than I could possibly imagine. So I hope to share just a small snippet of that with you today. So what we're going to start with is a grounding practice. And the reason that I've asked for your cameras to be off through this process is so if you wish, you can close your eyes, you can feel as comfortable and as settled as you possibly can in the space that you're in. And you can give yourself over to this grounding practice. It's absolutely okay if you've never done anything like this before. This is just an introduction to give you a sense of how it can be to really sink into your body and pay attention to your senses and just get a little bit more out of that thinking mind that is always so busy and problem solving for us all the time. This is about being more in our center and more in our bodies. So what I'm going to invite you to do is just find yourself in a comfortable position. You might want your back to be supported, to feel centered. Maybe standing is better for you. And just take a moment to feel your center of gravity. Feel yourself weighted, maybe supported in the chair or supported by the floor below you. And just take a few deeper changing breaths. See if you can get them right down in your belly. Just a few of those nice big deep breaths. And maybe as you do that, if it feels comfortable to you, just letting yourself close your eyes or soften your gaze. And as you come into this stiller sense, just connect with your breath. Right now, we're not looking to change it or to make it any different to how it wants to be. We're just letting the natural rhythm of our breath enter and leave our bodies. If at any point during this practice your mind starts to wander, as it naturally will, just gently bring yourself back to your breath. And try to allow yourself to do that without any judgment of where your mind has gone or why. And now really start to notice those points of contact that you have. Perhaps it's your seat bones connected with a chair, your feet on the floor. Maybe your back is supported. And really try to notice the physical sensations that holds in your body. Perhaps your mind is drawn to some discomfort you're experiencing. That's okay. Just notice that too. And we're not trying to change it right now. We're just accepting that it's there. And now I'm going to invite you to move your awareness around your senses. So still with your eyes closed, if that is comfortable to you. Take a moment to think about what you can hear closest to you. What are some of the noises that are most present for you right now? And as you've noticed those, are there any sounds further away that are coming to you? Maybe bird song, maybe traffic, maybe other people in your house. And now moving your attention to anything you might be able to smell. We become very used to the smells around us. I wonder if you really pay attention, whether you can smell anything particular in the space that you're in right now. And perhaps you can notice some sensations on your skin. Maybe you get a sense of the temperature of the room. Perhaps there's a breeze coming in through the window. Whether you're warm or cold. And again, we're doing all of this without judgment. And just for a moment, allow yourself to reconnect with your breath again. Notice it going in and out of your body. And coming back into the weight of your body. Feeling your feet on the floor again. Coming back into the room that you're in. Maybe wiggling your fingers slightly and your toes. And then when you feel ready, gently opening your eyes. And maybe stretching if that feels good to you. Oh. Thank you, everybody. So now, once you've all taken a moment to come back into the room and the space that you're in, we are going to start with a little chat about what is nature connection and why does it matter? Why is it important? Now, maybe it's safe for me to assume that all of you here today, given that you're either members of Surrey Wildlife Trust, staff, or volunteers with us, have some element of nature connection already. You appreciate the outdoor world and have that particular love already. You understand the value of it. What I've noticed with especially conservation charities, actually, we have a real focus on the scientific, on identification, on knowledge-based activities. And those things are wonderful for education purposes. But what I'm interested in is how we can change that relationship that we have with nature slightly, so that we understand it from a more meaningful and emotional way. So for me, nature connection is about creating a lasting and a meaningful relationship with nature, one that you foster and you put time and effort into over your lifetime. And like any relationship, you need to put that time and effort in to make it work properly. Now, personally, I would argue that nature has been giving us her all for the entirety of human existence. And that through that, we have become greedy. We have become dominating over nature. And it's our responsibility now to try and balance out those scales of the relationship a little more. I would say that in order to balance this relationship, we need to spend time in nature ourselves and find different ways of connecting with nature that are not just about the more knowledge-based activities that we can do. So one of the wonderful things about nature connectedness, the more connected we become, the better it is for our well-being. This has been proven with many different studies, and I'll come on to those shortly. And it also allows us to build our resilience to the changing world around us. I'm an environmentalist. I am incredibly concerned about the state of our climate and ecological crisis right now. But spending time in nature allows me to feel reconnected and gives me strength and hope that things are going to be okay and that we can make the changes that we need to make the world healthy, to make ourselves healthy. And the other wonderful thing that happens when we spend time outside and connect with nature more deeply is that we're more likely to care about the world around us. We're more likely to think more about our shopping habits and about our diet habits and about our recycling habits and our consumption, and whether we sign a petition that means something to us. The more that we do these things, the more that we are going to increase our positive behaviours towards conservation and wider environmental issues, which is one of the reasons why I'm here today. So here are a couple of the studies that have been done. I mean, this is just a tiny fragment of the work that's going into looking at the importance of our relationship with nature and some of the benefits that it has for us, and why it's important. It's in our DNA. We know inherently that nature is good for us. And what's really helpful right now is that all of these studies are being done to prove this and to find answers as to why it's so good for us. So forest bathing, if you haven't heard of it, is essentially a meditative practice in a woodland area where you walk and practice different mindfulness techniques to further your connection with nature. And one of the wonderful things about doing this is that trees produce these phytoncides that boost their own immune system, and by us breathing them in, we are boosting our own immune system too. They are helping us to boost our own immune system for up to a month after our visits in the woods, which is why it's so important that we get quality time in healthy, biodiverse areas. More evidence that soil contact is good for us, that actually being in contact with all of the amazing amounts of microbes in the soil, that actually boosts our immune system and also boosts our mood. So more reasons to get your hands dirty. And also a study that was done into people in hospitals that had a view of nature from their beds were much less likely to need pain relief and recovered from their surgery quicker and required less anti-anxiety medication as well. And this is just a tiny fragment. So as I was saying, I'm interested in how we can move our relationship from humans believing that they are dominant over all of the world and that it's ours to take and plunder as we wish, and instead moving to a more ecocentric way of living, which is seeing ourselves as part of the whole, that we have responsibility to all of these other incredible creatures around us and how we can foster a more healthy relationship with each of them. So a while ago, I think it was 2015, a study was released called Beyond Knowing Nature by Miles Richardson, David Lumbo, and a couple of others. And in this study, they looked at different ways that people connect with nature and tried to find a way to measure that and to make a metric out of it. And what they did was came up with the 5 pathways to nature connectedness. So the pathways are down the left of your screen. And I know there's a lot of information on here, you don't have to take it all in right now. But the idea is that through giving ourselves different pathways to connect with nature, that is how the real depth of connection happens. So contact is about using our senses, a little bit like we just tried with the grounding exercise, really being present when we're out in nature and sinking into our bodies a little bit more, like I was saying, and out of our busy minds. Paying attention to birdsong, giving ourselves permission to just stop and feel the wind on our faces, to walk barefoot through the woods, to feel the bark as we pass by trees, to smell the flowers. All of these things that sometimes we don't give ourselves the time to do. And those activities can have a massive impact on our well-being and help us connect with nature more deeply. So emotion is about engaging emotionally, letting nature be your support, letting it mirror your inner world and helping you to find a way to express yourself through the connection that you have with nature. I think beauty is a fairly obvious one, and I imagine we could all think back to moments where we've been kind of caught in awe and wonder of something that we've seen within the natural world. And meaning is thinking about all of the different ways that nature is represented through story, through songs, through poetry, art, all of these incredible forms of expressing ourselves that have been going on for thousands and thousands of years, and how nature cycles can bring us closer into connection with nature itself. And compassion is kind of almost like the outcome of all of the above. It's about thinking about the way that we interact with nature and trying to make that as healthy and as reciprocal as possible. So it's about giving back. It's about lobbying for change. It's about and signing those petitions. It's about having conversations with people about the importance of nature and maybe the climate situation that we face. It's about thinking about our shopping habits and our consumption and all of those kind of things as well, and supporting what we feel is right and what we want to see more of in the world. So this is a beautiful demonstration from some of our staff here at Surrey Wildlife Trust of ways that they found to connect with nature over the lockdown this year. All of these beautiful pieces of art were done through this year. Some of them were done as solo pieces. The one in the bottom left-hand corner was done by a few members of staff on their lunch break together. And the one in the bottom right-hand corner, I picked my niece up from school the other day, and there's this massive park that we usually go to after school. And I noticed that there was this little path next to the park that went off into a tiny little area of woodland. So we went off to have an explore, and somebody had made a little pretend campfire, and we went off to collect leaves, and she decided that she wanted to collect all of these flame leaves and add them to the campfire so that it looked like it was burning. And the really wonderful thing about that was that that's not the type of thing that she does very often. So when we were then walking down to collect her brother, she was collecting all of the leaves on the way, and she wanted to give them to presents to people as she passed. And that small interaction, that suggestion of us doing that activity, really led to her doing more within her own little life as well. So think about yourself and the ripple effects that you can have on other people as well when you talk about these sorts of things. And when you make natural art in the woods or something, think about the positive impacts that you might have, as opposed to, oh, people are going to think that I look weird. Just embrace it. Now, I would like to move on to a brief visualization exercise. This is to, I don't know personal situations, but I know that some people have found it really difficult to be outside and be as connected with nature as they might have liked to have been this year. For others, it's been a chance to get to know their own patch a little bit more, and to really notice the seasons changing. Maybe for those of you that can't get out as much as you might like to right now, I would like to offer you this visualization. Now, this is not something that you need to have done before. It doesn't matter if this is completely new to you, but I'd like you to just give it a go and try not to worry so much about getting it right and am I doing it properly, and just allow yourself to be. Follow my voice as we're doing this. Take your time as well and see what comes up for you. So for those of you that were with us at the very beginning, I'd invite you to find yourself in a comfortable position again. You might decide to be standing for this or supported in the chair, and just shift yourself around so that you feel nice and centered and heavy in your body. And just allowing yourself to really relax into this activity. So I'm going to invite you to slowly close your eyes, if that feels comfortable to you, or just to soften your gaze. And perhaps using the image that's on the screen as a prompt. Imagine yourself standing or sitting in a forest, similar to that one. It could be an area of forest you know really well. It could be a woodland area that you've only visited once. Or it could be one from your imagination, a place you've never been to, but you long to. And as you start visualizing that forest and yourself being there, just answer some of these questions for yourself to help you build up an image of what it's like there for you. What season is it? What time of day? What's the weather like there? Now, whilst you're standing or sitting in that forest area, I'd invite you to visualize roots growing out of yourself and deep down into the ground around you. Growing down through your feet, maybe through your hands, and spreading far and wide around you. Consider what your roots might meet as they expand and explore the area around you. Perhaps they entwine with the roots of trees and plants. Perhaps they meet the layer of fungi, the mycorrhizal layer, below the surface. Perhaps you imagine them pushing through the soil like a worm would bury itself, or meeting different creatures beneath the ground. Just hold yourself for a moment, feeling rooted, feeling your belonging to that place. You have every right to be there. And bring your attention to your breath again. With each in-breath, imagine soaking up some of the nutrients and the goodness in the soil around you, and letting it mingle with your own body, with your own breath. And with each exhale, allow any stress or tension to be released into the earth. The earth can hold it for you. And allows you to be a little more free. And whilst you're feeling your roots stretching wide, I invite you to move your attention to your senses once again. And this time, I'd like you to think about what you can hear in that forest. Perhaps bird song, maybe the wind through the leaves, perhaps other animals further away, could even be people. And maybe there are certain smells that are greeting you. Maybe that gorgeous earthy smell, the freshness of the greenery. Perhaps it's rained recently and there's that gorgeous petrichor smell in the air when the earth has been warmed and then rained on. Maybe within reaching distance of where you're rooted, you can touch something. A tree, feel its bark beneath your hand. Some soft, smooth leaves. Maybe other animals are around to greet you and welcome you to that space. What can you see around you in this forest? What can you see above you? And again, just connecting with your breath. This world that you're in, your breath mingles with the forest's breathing too. Now gently begin to retract those roots of yours again. slowly pull them back from the ground, unravel them from the other roots that they found, and bring with you some of that nutrients and nourishment as you start to come back into your own body in your own room, perhaps moving your fingers and toes, taking a few deeper breaths as you come back, and then when it feels comfortable to you, to gently open your eyes and rejoin us. Perhaps you'd like to have a big stretch as well. Oh. So the last little bit of me talking at you, hopefully soon we can have a little interaction. Here are some suggestions for some things that you can do yourself to help deepen your connection with nature. This is just the tip of the iceberg. These are just some suggestions. Now I have a grounding practice that my tutors from my course are happy for me to share. So if it's okay with you, Sophie, what we could do is, if anybody would like that email to them, they could let you know, and I would be happy to send on that information. It's a link to a YouTube clip on that is a lovely grounding practice for you to be able to do, ideally outside, but you can also do it inside, like we did at the beginning. And gratitude is one of those amazing things. It's been a real life changer for me. When we give ourselves the opportunity to notice some of the beautiful things around us and the way that they really affect us in here, we see more of them. So we see and pay attention to the things that we're thinking about regularly and the way that we're feeling. And if we can take a moment to be grateful for some of the beauty and wondrous things that nature has to offer us, even if it's being grateful for the food that's in front of you because you know that it's come from somewhere on earth. All of these things help to build our appreciation for the world around us. And also a lot of this is about permission, letting yourself take the time to just stop and watch the squirrels playing or watch the clouds moving above you, feel the bark under your hands, especially if you have perhaps children in your family or friends' children. Watching the way that they interact in the world outside is a really, really lovely thing to learn from them. The way that they play and the way that their curiosity. Allow your own play and your own curiosity to meet you each day, because it is so much fun to be a big kid. And for those of you that maybe can't get out as much as you might like to at the moment, make the most of any views that you might have. They don't have to be gorgeous rolling hills. I mean, half of my window is looking out onto a wall and the bottom of my car, or top of my car. But then above that, I've got the sky and I've got a few trees. And sometimes I just get lost in looking at the leaf colour or the movement of the wind through them. And those little moments are really important too. So allow yourself to have them and have fun with this as well.